Over the past year, I've cut 15 minutes off my HYROX time, going from a time of 1 hour 26 to 71 minutes. The goal still remains to go sub 70 and then see how far I can go. Let's take a look back at how I did it. So looking back at my first HYROX, my worst stations by far were wall balls, lunges and burpees, and even the ski erg. My ski erg technique was terrible. Collectively, I've taken over 4 minutes off my wall balls time, 2 minutes off my lunges, and over 2 minutes off my burpees. I'll look at running separately at the end, but first up, the ski erg. So in my first HYROX, I did a time of 4 minutes 54, and look at my technique, it's hilarious, but you know, practice makes perfect. So in HYROX 2, I did 4 minutes 20, in HYROX 3 I did 4:21, and in HYROX 4, most recently, I did 4 minutes 12. So when I was first getting into the ski erg, the main goal was to be able to ski 1 kilometer consistently. So I'd break that down into like reps like 5 times 200 meters. But as my conditioning on the ski erg improved, I was then trying to get faster or more used to it. So I'd do sets like 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute with a 1 minute recovery between each, because then when you do 4 minutes of skiing on the day, it just feels like nothing. Into station 2, Sled Push, and this has always been quite a strong station for me. In HYROX 1, I did 2 minutes 31. In HYROX 2, I did 1 minute 49 and came first overall, which is crazy. In HYROX 3, I did 1:53, and most recently, I did 1:52. So this time around, I pared back the effort a little bit, but as you can see, my time is relatively consistent. For this, I always just train for maximum effort. I push the weight as heavy as I can until I can't push anymore. Then as I get closer to the event, I cut back to a competition weight and focus on pushing speed and just getting my quads conditioned to that lactic acid, so that on the day you don't have to rest that much, you just go straight into it, get in, get out. Into station 3, Sled Pull. So in HYROX 1, I did a time of 4 minutes 20. In HYROX most recently, I did a time of 3:18. So I've taken over a minute off that station, and all I do is just practice. I use the rope, I use the sled, I load the weight up as much as I can, and just treat it the same as a sled push. And then as you get closer to race day, just cut the weight back to comp weight and focus on speed. Now into station 4, burpees, broad jumps. This was hands down my worst station consistently. So, in HYROX 1, I did a time of 5:31. In HYROX 2, I did a time of 5:02. And then in HYROX Glasgow, where I was sick, I actually did a time of 6 minutes 1 second. Now, between Glasgow and London most recently, I did a burpees challenge, which was 5 minutes of burpees every day for 50 days. So first thing in the morning, I'd get up, I'd do it, and I actually got my burpees time down to 3 minutes 20. So that's nearly 3 minutes off. It's actually 2 minutes 40 off from my worst time to my best time. Now, that just seemed crazy to me. My main ambition was to make burpees feel like normal on the day, and just getting up and doing 5 minutes every single day for 50 days just completely changed my mentality towards it. So when I got to the burpee start line, I just got down and got on with it. Got out, didn't even feel that bad, and you know what? I actually love doing burpees now. I never thought I'd say that. It's so weird how mental conditioning just can change your outlook completely. Next up, it's the row. Now this is always a funny one for me, because I actually have quite a good rowing time in isolation, but on the day in HYROX, I always need the recovery at this point, so this is something I'm going to work on. But anyway, HYROX 1, I did a time of 4 minutes 30. HYROX 2, I did a time of 4:45. HYROX 3, I was sick, but anyway, I did a time of 5:04. And then this latest HYROX, I did a time of 4:39. So my row time has actually got slightly worse over the time I've done it. However, I'll consistently use this station as a recovery, because I feel like it benefits me later on. As I go on, I'm just going to try and push my easy row pace higher and higher and higher, so even though I can recover, I can still do it quicker. Typically, when I started out, I was doing sessions like 5 by 200 meters, again, to get up that 1 kilometer distance, whereas as I got closer to race day, I was doing more like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 minutes and 1 minute recovery, or like miles. So you get used to going further, so that doing a K on the day feels like kind of easier. Next up is farmer's carry. And this is a funny one because it's just 200 meters carrying 2x24 kettlebells. And on HYROX 1, I did it in 148. In HYROX 2, I did it in 141, so getting quicker. HYROX 3, I dropped back down to 206. And then on HYROX 4, most recently, I did 217. So again, this is a station where I've got progressively slower. As I've pushed on in earlier stations, I've needed this one to recover more. Now, I will say, at Olympia, there was a lot more twists and turns, so this is going to add on time. But also, strategically, I didn't jog this at all. I just walked the whole thing out, whereas in the first 2 HYROXes, I jogged it a bit. Now, in an ideal world, I'd run this quicker, and this is something I'll work on for next HYROX, just making sure that by the time I get to station 6, I've got something in the tank to actually jog it out a bit and just cut those seconds down, you know, every little helps. Now next up is the lunges. So between HYROX 1 and HYROX 2, I went from 508 all the way down to 336. So I put a lot of effort into this. I was incorporating lunges into my running sessions as well. So it'd be like treadmill run, then into lunges and repeat that. I also, even into HYROX most recently, I was doing the same. So my Friday session would be a mixture of speed intervals, lunges and wall balls. So for HYROX Glasgow, I did 336, again the same, and for this most recent one I actually did 414, so it's a little bit slower, but that was because in this training block between Glasgow and London I didn't do as much lunges volume because I wanted to focus on getting my running speed back up a little bit. Didn't really work out that way, but that's how it is. So my Friday session would look a lot like basically preloading fatigue into my legs with sled push and weighted lunges, like heavier lunges for shorter reps, and then I would go into doing competition weight lunges in between running lunges. So I would do like 8 times a K, and in between each kilometer count down from 50 lunges, 40, 30, 20, 10, and then 50 wall balls, 40, 30, 20, 10. And that was a good way to get my leg conditioning up. So even though Kensington Olympia was slower, it was quite steady, and I had just come off the back of my fastest running lap. Into the wall balls. Now, the wall balls were one of my worst stations in HYROX 1. I absolutely hated it. I did a time of 8 minutes 47, and now in my most recent HYROX, I did a time of 4 minutes 23. And actually, they're always horrible, but they're just getting progressively less horrible. So it's gone from 8:47 down to 5:38, and then down to 4:45, and then now down to 4:23. So I'm going to target that 4 minute and hopefully sub 4 minute wall balls and just keep getting after it. Now if you're looking to improve your wall balls, I would say focus on volume over weight. So I only ever trained with a 7 kilogram wall ball. I've done times when I've tried it with a 10 kilogram wall ball and it just gets savage really quickly, and I find that if you just focus on the volume and quality of the rep, then it will come over time. So there's no quick way of doing it. You just got to hit the volume, and I find that there's a couple of ways around this to do it. So do your maximum wall balls at like 1 kilogram over comp weight, and then rather than stopping and resting, go in straight into thrusters. And then once you get tired with that, rather than stopping, just do squats holding the ball. If you want to condition your front delt to the 100 wall ball volume, then I find that just using an overhead plate press works the best. So getting a 25 kilogram plate and doing 25 reps 4 times over your head is great for it. I've also found that just doing more lunges in your weekly training will inadvertently improve your wall ball squats. And it's always about volume and quality, I would say, with wall balls. So next up is the Rox Zone. Now this is your time between doing a station and getting out to the run. So you can lose a lot of time here idling, but sometimes you need it for recovery. So in HYROX 1, I spent 9 minutes 7 seconds in the Rox Zone. In HYROX 2, I spent 8 minutes 2 seconds in the Rox Zone. In HYROX 3, I spent 5 minutes 45 in the Rox Zone, despite even being sick and feeling like I was wasting loads of time. And then in HYROX 4, I did 5 minutes 38. So my Rox Zone time has decreased considerably. However, I still think I can get out of those stations a lot quicker once I get on top of my hydration. That was the biggest thing for me with HYROX Olympia, is that I was spending a lot of time drinking, and then once I got into that rhythm of needing a drink, it was just, I was slowing down and wasting too much time. So that's one area that I really need to focus on moving forward. Now, the biggest area overall that takes up most of the time is your running. So if you look at my running total in HYROX 1, it's 39.58, and then my running total for HYROX 2 is 38.25, HYROX 3 is 38.12, and then in HYROX 4 it's 37.48. So I am chipping away at that running time. I think that part of me expects much bigger jumps in it because I've spent a bit more of that time running. My HYROX pace is still way off where I want it to be, but this is a great area for me to focus on next. So I think the reality of it is that you have to improve your top end speed so that you can find that your tempo pace, maybe your threshold pace, depending on which station you're on, and your sort of easy pace is a lot faster, so that no matter what state you find yourself in, whether you need recovery, whether you have a bit more gas in the tank, you can always hit those higher paces. And so for me, my next biggest strategy is to get that running time total down. So there we have it. Those are the ways I've taken 15 minutes off my HYROX time in just under a year. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the comment. I'll get back to you on anything specific. Over 80% of the people that watch this channel aren't subscribed. So do me a favor, support the channel, hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for taking the time to watch. Peace.